Fixturing is where good parts are made or destroyed. In this lesson, we're going to talk about work holding and how to design around it. So let's get into it. In the last lesson, we talked about the speeds and feeds and how that end mill is cutting that material. All of that is creating a lot of force on the piece of billet that we're removing that material from. Now the machine needs to hold this in place really firmly or bad things happen. And that takes us to this lesson of talking about fixturing and work holding within the machine. Now the big thing here is that if you get anything from it, is that movement of that piece of billet is bad things. So when we talk about work holding, there's a handful of things that can happen from that. Now I broke this down into 3 basic ones, but lots of other options can happen as well. Now the first one is loss of tolerance. You have to remember that that machine only knows where it's at in space, not necessarily where that piece of billet is at any given moment. So if that piece of billet moves, say even 5/1000ths of an inch, flexes over, the machine's not going to move with it. It's going to continue cutting, and now your tolerance is off. The next thing is chatter. Now this is a harmonic wave that's coming through that part. If we're not solidly holding it, or if your design's poor, you're going to start seeing chatter come through, and that vibration can cause a handful of things. One of the main ones is a bad finish. Now bad finishes can be fixed a little bit, but one of the more important ones is broken tools. That harmonic can become so violent that that tool, being so hard, can actually shatter and break, and now we have a bad part, bad tool, everybody's having a bad day. That cost money. So manufacturers want to avoid that at all costs, have good work holding, because they don't want to make your parts more than once. And you're going to have a bad day knowing that your lead time is now extended because they're having to remake your parts, as well as the cost could be increased as well. When we start talking about work holding, we're going to start talking about a handful of different options here, starting with vises. Now vises are going to be the most common one that we're going to see within manufacturing, and they work in a very simple way. First of all, we have our part here. So if we hold up our billet, we'd have our part mounted between what we call jaws. So these are the 2 areas which are going to clamp onto that piece. Now this force that we're applying on both sides here creates a clamping pressure on the outside edges of our part, and this does all of our work holding here. Now there's a handful of things that you need to know when you're designing your parts. The first one is that this little area in which the part is sunken down into the jaws, we can't cut. If you do cut it, typically machinists, it's very well frowned upon that if you cut your jaws, you had a bad day. So this little area is a no-go zone, and we also consider this to be the foot of our part. A lot of times if we're designing really correctly, we can make it so that the foot of the part is not part of our final design and can be cut off in an easy manner later on. So we don't have to worry about this area here. What we're going to do is talk about how to actually cut that off here in a second as well. Now, these vises come mainly in 2 flavors. There's a lot of them out there, but the 2 main ones you're going to see are self-centering vises and machine vises. And there's a subtle difference between the 2. On self-centering vises, we have an example right here on the table. If I turn the clamping mechanism, both jaws are moving in and out at the same exact time. And there's a main reason that we want to see this. On these vises also, we have little dimples on the outside of our jaws here that we also crimp into the part. There's a centering place here, and as we clamp this part up, our part will sit into those little dimples, and that not only holds it down, but also holds it side to side so we don't have to worry about where the block is in space. Once we have it in here secure, and I'm only doing this with my hands so we can't get it too secure, we can actually rotate this part around in different manners right here. The reason why that self-centering matters so much is that when we're on a 5th axis machine or even a 4th axis, we're rotating about that axis in this direction and this one. So if this block, say this jaw right here was fixed and this jaw came over, this billet block would be offset. So when I rotate about this axis, we're not rotating about the center of it, we're rotating out about a shifted area. And that changes the programming on the back end. And that kind of, I just touched on the difference between a machine vise, is that that one side is fixed. So you have a fixed side, say this one's fixed, and this one's movable. This jaw is moving in and out. The part's always going to be in this corner here. That subtle difference changes whether or not you're using it really on a 3-axis machine or a 5-axis machine. And that's why you'll see the machine vices typically used on a 3-axis machine, and centering vices typically used on a multi-axis machine where you're going to have that additional complexity. Now, I talked about having that foot cut off at the very end. Let's say on this type of part here, we need to machine either where that foot is, or like we talked about before, if we're machining on a 5-axis machine, I can get to all of these faces really, really well. But if I need to have a fixture on this bottom, I can't machine this. This block's in the way, the vise is in the way. So in that situation, we'd have to unclamp it, take this part out, and flip it over. However, now, picture this whole entire top section machined, some fancy shape. I don't have a way to hold that anymore because of the shape so fancy. We don't have square edges to hold onto it. That's where soft jaws are going to come into. Now, soft jaws are just what they sound like. They're two soft pieces of material, typically made out of aluminum, that are just billet pieces themselves. And what we do is we put those into the machine, and we machine the feature in which we want to clamp onto that outside profile of the machine block. Once we have that fixture essentially machined, now we can flip that part over, we can place it down into our soft jaws and clamp it successfully, machining that 6th side that we can't get to. Additionally speaking, we have clamps. Now, clamps are typically used a lot in custom jigs and fixturing, so these two are related, and we're going to talk about those in a later lesson. Now, within custom jigs and fixtures, soft jaws do kind of fit into that world. It's requiring the machinist or the programmer to make a part that makes you make more parts out of it. Soft jaws are not necessarily made 100% for production basis, but they can be. Whereas fixture plates are normally made on a production high level. So plates in which we have different features built into them. So we have maybe 2 different operations, and these plates are then mounted down onto the bed of the machine and stay in that machine. So we're maybe running, say, hundreds or thousands of parts through that machine that are exactly the same. Those are where you're going to see those fixture plates. Now, we can see that all of these different fixturing can change the price of our overall part. If we have this basic fixturing just like this is the simplest way for the manufacturer, the machinist, to make your part the least amount of programming. Once we start adding additional things like our soft jaws or our fixtures, these additional parts are going to increase the cost of our part. Now, if you have more parts, say hundreds of parts, that cost gets broken across your 100 parts. If you're making one part on your soft jaws, you double the amount of things that you had to make, which can increase that cost as well. Now that we fully understand how we're work holding, in the next lesson, we're going to start talking about how to make ideal tool paths. So we'll see you on the next one.